Yeah, you're live, Biscuit. We're live. I think we're live. I don't know how to tell. I don't know how to figure out if anybody's watching this thing or not.
We're
okay.
Live. 12 people.
Outstanding. Well, this is definitely not a regularly scheduled episode here on the 3 of 7 podcast. It is Sunday afternoon, 12:20 here on the East Coast, and we're live on YouTube. Thank you guys for joining us, by the way. I hope you're having an awesome morning. If you're listening on audio, this is a bonus episode with Brooke and I, because we ran our first race together yesterday, and there were a lot of cool things for me personally that came out of that, and a lot of thoughts that I had. And I asked Miss Biscuit if she would come and do a podcast with me about it, and she was totally open to it. So thank you, baby.
Yeah.
Thank you for making time.
I'm excited
to be here. This is the first podcast we've just done together in a long, long time.
Yeah, because we have the origin series kind of telling our story, which I told you yesterday we owe another origins episode. Like I think we have like 3 or 4 years to catch up on, and there's a lot of wild stuff that's happened.
Those are harder episodes to record, though.
Yeah,
for me personally,
they're uncomfortable.
Yeah,
I mean, and some of the stuff that will be in the newer origins, if and when we do it, is some like more recent hard times, you know. And so I think we definitely put it off, but we need to do it. But yeah, we haven't done an episode together, just us. I think ever, other than origins, right? Oh, well, interview, but that's not just us.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Well, a little bit of housekeeping for you guys if you're watching live on YouTube. I called Chili 5 minutes ago, and the hoodies are finally live on the website. All right, so it's getting cold. You just can't beat having a new hoodie when it starts cooling off like this.
I haven't seen. What do they look like?
I'm wearing it.
Is that it?
Yeah, it's the Be Hard When It Gets Hard hoodie.
Nice.
We haven't had these in stock since last winter.
Nice.
And so we've actually had 500 of them in stock for the last 2 weeks, but Chili wouldn't put them on the website because he was overwhelmed with packing the Tree of Liberty shirts. So the hoodies came in at the same time, and he wouldn't sell them to anybody. So he's finally caught up, and they're live on the website now for sale. Go get you one. It's a good time to be getting a new hoodie. I got mine on, and it's a comfortable hoodie. Oh, this is what the back of it looks like.
Easy. Yeah, you can see it. Kind of. Yeah. Awkward.
Yeah. Well, that's part of being live. Hold on. Let me adjust these headphones real quick.
Somebody said my girlfriend's going to kill me when I order the hoodie. What? If your girlfriend wants to kill you for ordering a hoodie, I mean, maybe there's something there I don't know about, but you probably just need to order you a hoodie.
Yeah, it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it in the end. Oh, speaking of that, dude says his girlfriend's going to kill him for ordering a hoodie.
Oh, God. I know where this is going.
So, Brooke signed up for this race. Now, this is the beginning of the podcast. The podcast is starting now. Brooke signed up for this race, I don't know, about a month ago or something. And she was just going to go up and do it by herself.
Well, yeah, Darren at the gym, at our CrossFit gym, pestered the daylights out of about 7 people to go, and most of us ended up signing up.
Yep. And then Darren ended up asking me if I was going to go run the race. I went and talked to you about it. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go, but there's 2 different options. You can run the 30K or the 50K. I said, yeah, I'm going to go run the race. I'm going to do the 50K. And I kept dragging my feet, not signing up. And we get like a week out from the race, and I'm like, hey, Biscuit, I think I just want to run the 30K, and I want to run it with you. And you didn't like that idea.
No, and you know exactly why I didn't like that idea. Over there chuckling. You are, I don't know if anyone can relate to this, but I do really well with people motivating me and people saying like, you can do more, go harder, or go faster, or you got more in the tank, but it's not you. like if you say anything to me along those lines of like trying to tell me to do something different or motivate me, it sends me into an immediate rage.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if there are any couples out there that the husband can like motivate the wife by like yelling at her and telling her to go harder and, do more and go faster. And, or if all couples are like we are, it doesn't work the other way though, because like if you're yelling at me to run faster or to lift more weight or to do an extra rep, that doesn't bother me.
I don't think I do that to you ever.
I know. I wish you would.
I know
it wouldn't bother me.
No, you don't.
So right off the bat, I introduced this idea to Brooke that we've never ran a race together because we thought it would potentially cause issues.
Well, and there's history there. Like we played a basketball game together. What was it? 2 years ago with Chili and Kelsey and all them. And we ended up in a fight, like a physical fight. And we've had lots of history on doing events or activities together.
So why did you end up letting?
I didn't let you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I told you I didn't want you to.
Okay.
And you said I'm doing it anyway.
That is true. So I guess I only left you with two options. Your options were to either run the race with me or to outrun me.
Yes.
That would have been your other option. You could have just chose to run faster than me, and I wouldn't have been able to keep up with you.
Yes.
Okay.
I did think about at the start when you went to the bathroom, I think I turned to Darren and told him I was going to disappear into the mass of people and just hope you couldn't find me. This is boring, though. We need to get to the point.
But we ran together, and it ended up being, you said I still got on your nerves. It ended up, I thought it went pretty daggone smooth.
I enjoyed it, but like I fell a lot. So did you. And you laughed. Like the second I would fall, you would just start cackling from behind me. Like,
except for that one time that you fell.
Because you got in trouble and I told you to stop doing that.
I don't know. The one time that you fell, it was a really hard, ugly fall. And I thought, well, that's one where I should probably ask her if she's okay. Because, you went both knees, just boom, all four straight onto the ground. And I asked you if you were okay. I was proud of myself for that because my reflex was to laugh about it.
Yeah.
but I had to rein in that reflex and actually ask you if you were okay. To give you guys a little bit of context about why we're even talking about this,
we're getting to a point.
The main thing that I kept thinking about last night, once we got done, we got back to the house. I was grumpy on the ride back to the house because I don't like sitting in the car. But we got back to the house, and that's the first time that Brooke and I have ever done anything like that together, where I got to see her. I was right there with her and got to see her push through pain. Because there was a point in the race, to give you guys a little context, this race is called the Duncan Ridge Trail Race. It's on the Duncan Ridge Trail, which is a very infamous trail in the ultra running world. It's an extremely steep, hard, nasty, rocky trail here in North Georgia. And this particular race every year, what makes it even double hard is the fact that the entire trail is about 6 inches deep in leaves. So, all the little rocks and roots and stuff, you don't see any of those until you kick them or fall over them or something.
Yep.
And so you went out really hard, but then there was a point maybe halfway through the race where you had kicked 3 or 4 rocks, you'd taken a fall, blackened your toenails up good, and then your IT band started really, really bothering you.
Well, that was what got me, was my IT band.
Yeah. But, instead of slowing down and just kind of hiking it out, you chose to push through that. And you even said one time, you were like, well, this is a good mental exercise. Like, I'm having to deal with this pain, but I'm going to use this as an opportunity to continue to move as fast as I can possibly move and push through this. And so that was the first time I had ever just gotten to see you up close work through a difficult and painful situation.
Physical.
Yeah. And it brought me, it just, to me, it made me think about, and I know you don't want this podcast to be all about you, but I'm just telling you how it made me think. It made me think about how far you've come in terms of mental toughness, the ability to push through this pain, the ability to feel and experience discomfort, but then still make the choice to keep going, and not just keep going like a sad sack, but like keep going at the maximum pace that you can achieve. And thinking about how far you've come, because I'll never forget the first time you went out and tried to run after you got out of rehab. And I don't know, what was that, like a mile?
It was 2 miles.
2 miles?
In the Great Dismal Swamp.
Yeah. And, like, you weren't having it.
I almost died. I felt like I was dying. Woo, that scared me. I've literally felt like I was dying.
Yeah.
2 miles at like a barely jogging.
But the crazy thing is yes, you are in much better physical condition now than you were back then. But you were still, there was nothing wrong with you physically back then.
No.
So, like, the big thing that's changed in you is your ability to deal with the discomfort that you're feeling. Mm-hmm. Because I think that's what, with that first run that we ever did when you first got out of rehab, that 2 mile run, what stopped you wasn't because your body wasn't physically capable of running 2 miles. What stopped you was like, oh, this uncomfortable feeling that is coming upon me because of this running.
Yeah.
I don't want this.
Well, yeah, it was against, first of all, that's against just human nature in general. Like, okay, I'm feeling pain. I need to find a way to not feel pain anymore. But that accelerates times 1,000, I would imagine, when you're a drug addict, because I had lived for years and years always trying to stay out of pain. That was my go-to. You know, I was always scanning, and I didn't know how to be uncomfortable. I didn't know how to feel stress, physical or mental, and just like sit in it, much less push into it.
Yeah.
You know?
Because aren't you, I mean, when you're in active addiction, aren't you like kind of just numb?
At the beginning, there's a lot of highs. But yeah, a couple years in for me, yes, I'm maintaining. I mean, it is really a simple way to put it. I'm staying out of pain. Okay. Like I was to the point towards the end where I was just avoiding withdrawals. I would rarely feel like a good uplifting. No, that's not a good way to put it. I would rarely get like really high. I would just stay out of pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, towards the end.
And so how many years ago would that have been, that first run?
2015 would have been the first run.
So that's about 8 years then.
Yep.
So over the course of 8 years, you went from the point of not being able to manage the discomfort that you felt during a 2 mile run to now being able to go out and do a 18-mile run on a trail in the hardest terrain in North Georgia. Yeah. On the Duncan Ridge Trail.
And I've done ultras, but the ultras I've done, I've gone out like kind of slow and paced, really easy from the beginning. And this race, I went balls to the wall. I just went like as hard as I could go.
Yeah, you got third place female, 12th overall. Yeah. So you ran really well. I got 13th. I got 13th place. Brooke beat me, 12th place overall. So what I want this podcast to be is a encouraging message to you guys who might look at me or you might look at other people and the things that they're able to do and accomplish, especially physically, and you think there's no way I can ever do that. I want this to be an encouraging message to you guys that, well, actually, yes, you could go and do that. It's just going to take time. You have to develop an appetite for discomfort and pain and struggle. You have to develop an appetite for that. I can think back on when I was a young man and I first decided I wanted to join the Navy. And I had to go and take the PST, the Physical Standards Test with Frank Cutler. That was a 500-meter swim, max push-up, pull-up, sit-up, and a 1.5 mile run. And I remember that just being the most, that thing just used to freaking crush me. I mean, I would come home from that, and I would just sleep for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And I just remember being so, feeling like I was just so miserable during that simple physical standards test that it was just so uncomfortable and so miserable.
Can I ask you a question real quick before you?
Yeah.
Did you, in your young adult life, really just your childhood in general, can you think of any times when before, like starting the PST and trying to get into the Navy, that you were pushed into those uncomfortable physical challenges that you had to work through? Or was that the first time in your life that you were experiencing?
Well, for me, I think the only thing that I would have would be in working out on the farm that I worked on, before I joined the Navy. Yeah, there were some uncomfortable days out there.
Yeah.
It was hot and it was hard work but I just think maybe that gave me some very low level baseline, because the thing with that is like when you're out working hard, yeah, it's hard work, but like there was no standard like there was on the physical standards test for the Navy.
Yeah.
Like if it started getting rough when you're out working on the farm, you just slow down, and you just got done what you could get done for the day at the pace that was acceptable to you and the discomfort you were willing to bear. So you just slowed down.
Yeah.
But the PST, it's like, okay, there's a hard standard and you have to meet this standard. And it doesn't matter, like the discomfort you're feeling doesn't really matter. You have to meet this standard. That's it. You can't slow down, because if you slow down, you don't meet the standard.
Yeah.
But I had no understanding or appetite for that discomfort. And so you see me now, just this year, I've done a 360-mile bike ride. I've done a 250-mile race. I've done a 100-mile race. I've done a 30K race. I've done a 270-mile bike ride. I've done all of these really hard physical things. And it's because over the course of, what would that been, since I was 19 years old to now I'm 35. It's been a slow progression of me developing the ability to deal with uncomfortable things and continue to push through them.
Yeah.
But it's taken a long time.
So before you developed, because that was kind of where I wanted to take this conversation, like not exclusively, but just at some point, was like when you brought this up, I was thinking about getting started in building resiliency and mental toughness. Like when you have hardly any baseline, and the only thing I could come up with, which I'm applying to what you're saying, is having a why. Because you're not going to develop that, or I didn't develop that love and appetite. I like that word, appetite, for that friction for a really long time. So initially I had to have a reason to do it.
Yeah, I think there has to be a necessity.
Yeah.
Yeah, there has to be some necessity. I mean, I can see the necessity in why you started
Yes.
working on your mental toughness, because you decided, okay, I want to be free from these drugs. Well, what's one thing that's going to help me with this? Mm-hmm. Physical fitness and exercise. And so there was a necessity for you to get good at working out, because it was used as a tool to help you through recovery.
Right.
And just to keep you mentally healthy.
And same with you with the PSD, with becoming a SEAL. That's what you wanted.
Yeah, there became all of a sudden this necessity.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what I want to do. Well, I'm going to have to get used to feeling this discomfort. But I just remember, too, going on and throughout my Navy career, even going into SEAL training, how it just, my ability to stomach discomfort just it so gradually got my tolerance for discomfort got higher and higher and higher and higher, but it's so gradual you don't even realize it's happening. At least that was my experience.
Yeah.
Like coming to the point that I am now, to where I can go out and run a 250-mile race, which was really, really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like beyond words uncomfortable. But in the midst of that, never even having a thought about stopping. Never even crossing my mind to quit. But that took 15 years, man.
Yeah.
15 years to get to that point.
I can relate to the momentum that's necessary. Like, I personally just feel like the last 2 years I have started to be in a place that I'm proud of as far as my ability to sit in discomfort. And I thought for a long time, I definitely thought in the beginning that I was going to acquire resiliency. Like, I thought I was going to like read a book or do a few workouts and like catch this special thing that like my brain was able to do when things got tough. I like leaned into it, or like one day that was just going to click and I was going to understand, okay, that's what this means. Like, that's what everybody's talking about when they're like, be hard and do better and go faster and longer and just, all that stuff. But for me, like what you just said, it has been a slow, cumulative growth. And I feel like I'm still growing in it.
Well, yeah, I mean,
yeah, I think it will just continue as long as you're consistent with challenging yourself on a regular basis in new ways. I think, but yeah, I wanted to go back to that what you said, that it's mental toughness and resilience is not something that's just going to like appear if you read the right book. Like it you have to practice it.
It's also not something that you're born with.
No, I thought about this too. I totally agree with that statement. But I think you are super competitive. You are a highly competitive person. So I think that someone like you with this innate drive in you, I don't want to say it's easier, but I think it's a different experience for you than it is for, I'm not super competitive. Mm. And so I have to have a why, because I'm not doing it to prove anything and I'm not doing it to beat anybody else. That doesn't motivate me.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, my why has to be some benefit for me or for somebody else.
No, I get that. Yeah, I'm definitely more apt to expose myself to more discomfort for the sake of winning.
Yes.
Some sort of competition, sort of workout.
And I do not care about that. Well, I've started to get a little spicy now that I'm able to keep up with people, but it's never my why when I get started. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a good point. So I think what you're saying is the mental toughness aspect, or the ability to deal with pain and discomfort and all this stuff, you're agreeing you're not born with that.
No.
But there might be other attributes that are innate in you that will help drive you into situations or activities that are going to then build that mental toughness.
And I think, yes, 100%. And I think my main purpose for sharing that is for people who aren't competitive, aren't fiery by nature. Like, you can have that fire too. You just probably need to go about it in a different way. You know what I mean? It's not going to be showing up to a race wanting to crush everybody there, and that's what fires you and fuels you. Like, you might need to search for what fires you and fuels you, because that might not be it.
Well, that's interesting, because I can't. That's a tough one for me, because I'm trying to think for myself. If it wasn't for the sake of competition in so many aspects of my life, it has been. If it wasn't for the sake of competition, like what do you use for fuel?
I have seen the fruits of, so my initial start into fitness and all of everything we're talking about for me personally can parallel with mental resiliency and emotional growth. Like, almost exactly. Like, everything we're saying, if you were to replace it with that, it would work for me. But I think over time, initially, I just wanted to be mentally okay when I got sober. So that was my why. And then once I started gaining this little bit of momentum, I started seeing the fruits of fitness and suffering and pushing. And I saw the character it was building, and I saw what it produced in my life. And that is the fuel that I use to this day, is just the improvement to my everyday, to my relationships, to my mental health, to my ability to do something like laundry when I really don't want to.
Yeah.
It's for my experience, it's the same discipline of like, wow, I really don't want to do this. It's not going to make me happy in the moment, and it's going to be a sufferfest, but I'm going to do it anyway. No,
I get that. Yeah.
So to answer your question, it's not the competitive. It's just the momentum of seeing the result of, this is a really good thing for me.
Mm-hmm. I'm interested too in how over time in microdosing this difficulty and developing this mental toughness, how has literally the way you think, how has that changed? Because like yesterday, when you kicked a dang rock 15 miles into this race and you crashed out on the ground and slammed your knees into the ground, like 6 years ago, you might would have stopped. Like, I don't even think you would have gotten that far, but like if that would have happened in the beginning, you would have been like, nah, screw this, man. I'm not doing this. But now you literally got up and you started running faster because you fell down. So like, how is this? Is there anything in just the way that you think, has that changed?
Yeah, big time. I think that a lot of that is not just within me either. I think that I used to think that my body was a lot more fragile than it is. And I still, if we're in a group of people, I tend to be more protective of my body than other people, because I want to be able to go to CrossFit every day. I avoid 100-milers. You guys all have been pushing me to do a 100-miler, and I'm like, no, because I know it would mean a week or two off from the gym, and I don't want to miss that grinding workout I do every morning. Aside from, tell me what you asked me again.
How's the way you think changed, or the thoughts that you have when you feel discomfort?
Yes.
Like it's went from...
I knew where I was going now.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is just over time realizing what I'm capable of. But a lot of it is being surrounded by you and other people that I'm close to, modeling what our bodies are capable of. Like, I can't deny that that's not had an impact on what I view that my body is capable of.
Well, when did the switch happen from when it starts to get uncomfortable? I'm going to slow down or quit.
It's an internal dialogue because my mind still, and I don't know if that will ever go away. My mind still goes to those thoughts. Like yesterday when I fell, I could feel my knees zinging really bad, and it made me really angry. And I did want to like stop and just kind of like kick my foot out for a minute and kind of just move around. But I was like, it's fine. So the thoughts come in, you need to take a break. And that happens when we were sprinting to the finish of that race. I got my heart rate up to close to 190. And I remember thinking like, this hurts really bad. Like I can't get air. I want to stop. Same that I wanted to stop when I fell. But now I have such a good awareness of what I view as kind of my weaknesses, and I catch them before I allow them to create action, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes total sense. And I think it's a good point to bring up in context of this conversation for everybody that's listening. The thought of when something gets harder than you want it to be, the thought that creeps into your mind to like, okay, I want to stop doing this. Like,
right.
Not because I'm a quitter, but just I want to ease this pain up a little bit.
It's ingrained in yeah.
Well, I think it is. I think it's part of the human body's self-preservation.
Yes.
But the problem is, I maybe I'm wrong, but a lot of people portray that they have like surpassed that level. Yes. like I don't ever have thoughts to slow down
or quit.
I don't ever have thoughts to stop.
Yeah, no.
Like I think people just portray that like you can get to this level where I don't even feel the pain anymore. Like that's a line of freaking bull crap, man. That's for Instagram. Okay? That's for social media. That's not for real life, okay? Because even I keep going back to the Cocodona 250 because it's the hardest, most recent thing that I've done.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no telling how many dozens of times during that race where the thought crept into my mind, okay, I don't want to do this anymore.
It was
like, I want to stop, right? Like, I don't want to quit the race, but I want to stop and allow my body to calm down, and I want to not feel this pain for a little bit, and then I'll get back up and start going after that.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the luxury to do that. But those thoughts were still crept into my mind on a regular basis. And no matter how good you get, no matter how mentally tough you get, because here's the thing, as you get better at whatever it is you want to get better at, lifting weights, running, CrossFit, as you get better, all you're going to do is you're going to keep taking the level up a notch. You're going to go from running a 10K to a 50K, to a 50 miler, to a 100 miler, to a 200 miler. So you just keep taking the level up a notch. And the reason why this is important is because I think what people don't understand is when they have these thoughts, when they're doing something difficult and they have the thought that they don't want it to do it anymore, they succumb to that because they start beating themselves up about even having the thought. They let it creep in. Oh man, I must not be cut out for this.
Or have you not taught yourself that you have options? Like, I never knew that. I never knew when my mind said, you need to stop doing this right now, that I had an option to be like, no, I'm going to choose not to listen. As loud as it gets, I'm going to choose not to listen to it. Like, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So when that moment comes for you, we're talking about building mental toughness here. When that moment comes to you where you don't want to do what the crap you're doing anymore, you should be ready and prepared for that moment, because it's going to come.
Yep.
If you are actually pushing yourself. All right? When that moment comes, that's not the time for you to beat yourself up about having those thoughts. That's not the time for you to start thinking about yourself as weak or less than the people that you look up to. What you have to understand is that moment is the moment that we are all seeking, no matter what level we're on, no matter how mentally tough we are, no matter how much we've done, no matter how much pain we've experienced, no matter how much we can bear. The moment when we don't want to do it anymore is the moment that we are all seeking. At least that's the moment that everyone who is choosing to want to grow is seeking. And that moment is the golden opportunity, because until you reach that moment, everything before that moment is just process miles. Everything before that moment is just to get you to that moment. And the only growth you experience is everything that you experience beyond that moment. I want y'all to understand this, man. That's what you should be seeking. And we're talking about this in terms of fitness, but this can be applied on mental toughness can be applied on so many other spectrums than fitness. You know, I told you guys the other day I was feeling burned out on work and the podcasting and 307 project. And, you know, I saw people comment, well, oh man, it was sad to see that Chadd said he was burned out on doing this stuff, man. No, that's what I want. I want to be doing crap that is pushing me to the point that I don't want to do it anymore. You know what I feel like when I don't want to come in here, sit down here and have hard conversations live for the world to see? Those days for me, that's what y'all don't freaking understand how I tick, man. I want to feel that way, because I know that all the work that I've done up to that point was just to get me to that point. And when I feel like that on that day or that week or for that month, the whole time I'm looking at that and saying, this is it, man. This is where if I just keep going beyond this, I'm going to achieve what it is I want to achieve. And your comments tell me so much about your mindset. For you to think that I'm upset about feeling overextended, feeling mentally exhausted, feeling burned out.
They're also like to just speak for other people. People aren't used to people being honest about stuff like that either. Like, how often are you going to tune into somebody's podcast that wants you to listen and say, "Hey guys, kind of burned out on this today." Yeah,
like, I'm trying to be real with y'all, man.
Yeah, I think that's the part that probably throws people off. They're like, "Well, why are you?" They don't understand that everybody feels that way. You're just choosing to say it out loud to your audience.
I hate complacency. And complacency is the absolute enemy of developing mental toughness and resiliency. Like, yeah. Do you understand how easy it would be for me to become complacent in everything that I do? It would be extremely easy. I'm retired from the military, man. We have a great life. I'm not forced financially to do anything that I do. It would be so easy for me to become complacent. And if I chose to become complacent, I would never have days where I felt like I didn't want to do this. I could carry on with everything that I do, whether it's training people, whether it's speaking, whether it's podcasting. I could carry on with whatever I do and keep it at a level that I was comfortable with. But I freaking hate complacency, because I know in the midst of complacency, I am growing weaker by the minute. In the midst of complacency, I will never experience something new because you never get to that point where you say, I don't want to do this anymore if you're operating at a level that allows you to stay comfortable and complacent. It's the golden freaking moment, man. It's not the moment where you beat yourself up for having those thoughts because your favorite social media influencer doesn't have those thoughts ever, right? No, bull crap, man. He just never freaking told you about them. That's all it is. He never told you about them.
Well, it's the same thing about people not talking about having feelings about wanting to quit. People, you're just not gonna. That's not cool. That's not portraying the image that is celebrated at the time.
You know? That's interesting to me too, man, because people ask me all the time. They say, people have asked me before, did you ever want to quit in SEAL training? No, never did. Never even thought about quitting. Did you ever want to quit during 250-mile race? No, never thought about quitting. Did you ever want to quit during TNGA? Heck no. Physical things don't bring me to the point that I want to quit because I like doing physical things, right? If you want to ask me, was there ever a moment you wanted to quit in your marriage? Yeah. If you want to ask me, was there ever a moment you wanted to quit in business? Yeah.
In relationships in general.
Yeah. All right. That's why we're talking about this. That just brings me back to the point that I made earlier. This forging this ability to push through discomfort is not just physical discomfort. It's not just so you can win at your CrossFit workout or win your race. It's so that you can achieve in all aspects of your life. It's so that you won't quit in all aspects of your life. They all support one another. Mm-hmm. That's why it's important.
Yeah.
Sorry, I hijacked the conversation.
That's okay. You got a little fired up. That really kind of cliche statement is like how you do something is how you do everything. Is that what it says?
I don't know.
How you do one thing is how you do everything. I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard Jesse say that before.
Yeah, and that kind of makes me think about what you are saying, and that's what I try to do with resiliency or mental toughness is like the same things that we're talking about. I try to apply it to my mental, emotional growth, or like I said, like my job, or even just things around our house. Just the same mindset of like, what thoughts are creeping in? Do I want to respond? Like, do I want to do what my brain is telling me to do? Better example. Right now, I think you and I both are working on our character and just our thought patterns that we don't like and the things about our personalities that we want to be better at. And you're talking about you're doing a physical challenge and your mind says, quit, or you need to stop. This is uncomfortable. And you know that about yourself and you've already prepared for that moment. And when that moment comes, you're ready. You identify it and you say, no, I know what's good for me. I know what I want to do. So I'm going to keep going. And it's like learning to be a better person is knowing those parts about yourself that are weak in your personality, maybe how you treat others, how you respond in relationships, what are your defense mechanisms. And if you know those things about yourself and you can see them coming, you can catch them. Mm-hmm. And you can do the exact same thing you could in a physical challenge and make a decision. Even though most of the time it's going to be really uncomfortable, you can decide in that moment to do the right thing or do the thing that aligns with your goals as opposed to doing what your brain is telling you. Mm-hmm. I feel like that was really long, but yeah.
Was another point I wanted to make too. I think there's a lot of confusion around, especially in the younger generation of people. I think some people think that just showing up is good enough.
I think it is at first. Before you, because what
maybe at first, maybe in the very early stages.
We were just talking about how do you initially, or that's what I wanted to talk about. How do you initially begin to build what we're talking about when you have nothing?
Yeah,
you have a why, but if you have a why and you just show up, how can that not lead to something?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just thinking about this in terms of the race that you ran yesterday. You know, if you would have just showed up for that race and you would have just kind of bebopped around and hiked it, and, you know, you can always just, you can show up and just, you have the option to just do the bare minimum and stay within the boundaries of what you're comfortable with. And there would have been no growth from that race if all you would have done is showed up and just stayed within the boundaries of what you thought you were capable of. And we see it all. I applied this to the younger generation, but apply it to the old folks that we know.
Yeah.
Like, look, man,
I checked the box.
If you're gonna go out for a daggone walk, and that's all you can do right now is walk. If all you do is go out for a walk and just walk at the slowest possible pace that you can so that you don't hardly get out of breath, you don't feel any sort of discomfort, you're not a little sore the next day, but hey man, I got my walk in. You're not building any mental toughness. You are not building resiliency. You are not becoming any better.
Yep.
Just showing up is not enough to build mental toughness, to do what we are talking about doing. I even think in the beginning, you still have, I get what you're saying, but even in the beginning, you still have to show up and you still have to go beyond that, because again, until I keep coming back to the point, you want to become mentally stronger, you have got to get to the point that you don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And now that might be on your first ever 1 mile walk down the freaking sidewalk in your neighborhood because you're 400 pounds right now.
Oh my gosh.
That might be you going from a 30-minute mile pace to a 28-minute mile pace, and you're getting freaking out of breath, and you say, dang, I want to slow down, but guess what? I'm going to keep going at this 28-minute mile pace until I'm done because I know I can do it. So just showing up is not enough to achieve what we're talking about achieving.
I feel like when we talk about it, it would be easy for my brain to turn it into like this big monumental, like when you're talking about it, I picture like this moment when I'm like running or I'm CrossFitting and like it's just this huge struggle, and I'm like, and for me, the first couple years, it was these, and I like what you said it earlier, micro doses. It was like I would be doing a workout, and in it maybe was a couple runs or it was a circuit or lifting, and I would just scrape the edge of like, oh, that's too much. And I just kept doing that. Like, it wasn't like I had to be like in it and just like dying, and for me, but granted, it took me, how long did we say? Like 8 years.
That would be the question. If you would have, right, would you have gotten to the point you're at now faster?
100%.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the coping to deal with mental or physical stress without a lot of work. Like that, I just didn't have it. But it wasn't these like really dramatic moments of suffering for me. It was like dipping my toes past the line of what I was comfortable with. And maybe, I think definitely the time that I would stay there got longer, and then the intensity I was willing to experience got more, as time goes on. But for me, for a couple years, it was, yeah. But yes, if I would have leaned in harder for longer, sooner, I think it definitely would have produced results.
Yeah, and that's really difficult to do on your own. Well, like I almost, that was I like that you said that, because I think about myself, and the huge advantage that I had was going through SEAL training. Because, like, I remember in third phase, one night in third phase of BUDS, if the class got in trouble, the instructors sent you down to the beach that night, and you had to do something called Camp Surf. And Camp Surf meant you slept on the beach, and the instructors stayed up in the hell box, which was their little building right there on the edge of the beach. And every hour on the hour, the instructors would shoot off flares, and you would have to run down and hit the surf, get wet and sandy every hour on the hour every night. So in between you going down there and getting wet and then you coming back up and laying on the cold sand, you just laid there and froze until the top of the next hour, and you had to go back down and hit the surf again, right? Like, I can remember back then how much I did not want to do that. I cannot even put it into words how much I didn't want to do that. It was so cold and miserable. It's indescribable.
So can you describe, or can you, like, in that moment, could you verbalize, like, what went through your mind? Like, was it immediately, like, when you had those thoughts of, like, I really don't, this is miserable, what did you do with that? Did you just embrace it, or did you, like, remind yourself of why you're there, or, like, what?
No, the whole time I just thought, this is freaking miserable.
So you just sat with those thoughts. You didn't try to, like, motivate yourself or try to speak to yourself. Or...
It was so miserable that it was, like, impossible to do that at the level that I was in terms of mental toughness at that point in my life. So yeah, I just spent the whole night thinking, this is absolutely the worst night that you could ever imagine having. I mean, but all that being said, in my mind, I had to do it. There was like, I had to do it. I didn't have any choice in the matter. I guess that's the mindset that I guess that's a part of my mindset that I would like to know how that happened, because that is the same mindset now that I carry into my big races that I do. Mm-hmm. I have to do that. Like, I want you guys to understand this. I go into these things somehow with the mental attitude that there is no choice except this. And I've tried to explain this before when I talk to people about when I'm standing on the start line of a big race. I'm standing there and I can feel the full weight of, like, it's heavy. Because in my mind, I know there is nothing, there is no other option except I have to do this. And so you feel that heaviness. And I think if you're standing on the start line of something and you're saying, well, I'm just going to try. I'm going to do my best, right? But I don't really have to do it. Like, at any time I can just stop. I can quit at any time. I don't think you feel the same heaviness that I'm feeling on the start line.
100%, no.
And I do that just intuitively. That's just...
I think that's a gift. And I think that's something built into your personality that I think it's a cool thing for people to strive for. But just from being married to you and being with you for so long, I don't know very many other people who have that built in that's innate. Like, you will get on, you're so front sight focused. Like, you always have something. You have to have something you're working towards. And you'll find the thing, and then your life starts to revolve around it. whether it's TNGA or a race or an event or something, like you put 110% of yourself into whatever it is. But like, I don't.
But I wonder though, if that is not from my military experience. I wonder if it isn't from when I joined the Navy and you show up, even just right first day, you show up to boot camp, they take everything from you. Like they take you, strip you down, like take your underwear from you. Like you don't have anything. They shave your hair. They take anything that you could possibly identify with. And it leaves you in this state of feeling like I don't have anything else. Like I don't have anything else. I no longer have any possessions. Like I can't just walk across the street and go home. And I wonder if it's not from that experience, like just subjecting myself to this lifestyle where everything is literally taken from you and you literally don't have anything, any identity other than what it is you're told to do that day.
Yeah.
Now, in reality, there's still some choice there.
Yeah.
In reality, I could have peed my bed and said I'm going crazy and they would have let me out of the Navy. But it doesn't really feel that way when it's in the midst of it. It literally feels like you don't have any other options.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap, I don't have nothing. I guess I have to do this.
Yeah.
And so I just wonder if over time that didn't become the way I view every single challenge in my life. I view 307 Project the same way. Is everything in my life I view this way. It's like I have days where I could think, well, I'm just gonna shut it all down, man. But then I'm like, I can't do that. Like I don't leave myself any options, and I think that people would achieve more, would build more mental toughness faster if they would put themselves in scenarios where it's not as easy just to walk away from it. That's one of the things I love about the ROP course that we do. That's one of the things I love about the basic course.
Yeah.
You take these people, you take this team out into the wilderness, and we get so far back in there on the basic course that they can't just walk away from it.
If they quit, they're just stranded.
They're
in the
just
wilderness.
there.
Yeah.
It's the same way on everything we do. It's the same way on the ROP course. We had a guy on the ROP course, the Rite of Passage, quit a few classes ago, said he couldn't take another step. He just plops down in the trail and quits. And we're like, well, man, you still got to walk 4 more miles out of here. Well, guess what he did? He got up and walked 4 more miles. From the time he said he couldn't take another literal step, he walked 4 more miles. And I'm contrasting this with your personal experience of you like saying, okay, I pushed right up to the edge and then I backed off, and I pushed right up to the edge and I backed off.
Yeah.
But if you can subject yourself to a structured training
Yes.
environment where you lose control of your options, it's going to start making you think differently. Like, when's the last time you, on YouTube, when is the last time you were in a freaking environment where you were like, this really sucks right now, but I don't have any, like, I have, the only thing I can do is go through this. Now, a lot of times life throws situations at us like that.
You're saying
but I'm talking about intentional training, right? I think it's really, really important to do that. And I think that is what got me being subjected for so long to this environment where my choice was out of the equation. I think that's what got me to this point where now I've never DNF'd a race. I've never started a race, a trail race, that was purely based on my choice to keep going and not finished. Not all of them were pretty, but I've always finished. And I think it's probably important for a lot of you guys to start taking your choices off the table when you start a business. What about when you get married? Oh, could this not apply to when you decide you want to get married? I think it's pretty smart for you to just start taking your little choices off the table. Because the less choices that you leave yourself, the better your chances are when you hit the point that we keep talking about where you don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. The less choices you give yourself from the start to that point, it increases the chances that you are going to make the right decision and keep going when you hit that point.
And my mind is like going about all the things this can be applied to. And the two that just popped out in my head is like your job, but also self-care, like diet and just maintaining your body well outside of exercise. Like, yeah, it's such a foundational thing that once you get it, it's not all going to be easy, but like you have a blueprint. You have like this is the way I do things. And you still come up on the friction of not wanting to stick to your blueprint, but at least you have it. And you're not always going to, I'm not always going to follow through the way I want to. But I don't know.
Well, do you feel like you grew yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like you did. I was super proud of you, man.
Yeah. I can see though, yesterday I could see the benefit in a really long race, because you talk about being patient, you talk about being present. Mm-hmm. And I am the person who I'm motivated by like, okay, I only have 5 more miles. Okay, I only have maybe 2 more hours. I can keep pushing at this pace with only 2 more hours. And like I kind of do a mental countdown in my head. And I do that with most things in my life that are hard. Mm-hmm. And a couple of times I attempted to stay in the moment and like not look forward and just do what felt like medium hard, what I knew I was capable of. But I wasn't able to. But I think about when we passed Blake that night when he was doing his 100-miler and he was doing the most awful, monotonous loops at Dry Creek midways through his race at night by himself. And I was just thinking about how if he would have started doing what I was doing yesterday to get through, counting down the miles, you would quit because it's too long.
Yeah.
It would be so discouraging to be like, oh, I can maintain this. I only have 60 miles left. Mm-hmm. Like you can't do that with something that long. So I kind of, yesterday was great. I grew, but it also exposed something I already knew about myself, but it really exposed it was just my ability to be patient and present is lacking.
And so that leads to the question, how do you learn to become more present? Like so that's the golden question that everybody, that's the thing. I stand up in front of people all the time and talk to them about this concept of being able to stay present and focused on the task at hand, especially in the midst of adversity. And the whole time I know what these people are thinking. Well, this sounds really good, but how do I become more present?
That's what I was thinking.
Like, how do I get better at this?
Yeah.
Well, there is no magic answer.
It's just like the resilience that we're talking about.
How do you get better at becoming present? It's forcing yourself into environments that force you to be present, or you will not make it, or you will be absolutely miserable the entire time, one or the other.
Yeah.
Unless you can reel your mind in and focus on what you're doing. It's the only way. And we're talking, and I'm talking about, I'm at the point in my life where I have had hundreds, if not thousands, of repetitions of this, forcing myself into environments when, and whether it's on the micro scale of doing a 50-meter underwater swim. You know, you're talking about an evolution that only lasts 2 or 3 minutes. But when you are under the water doing a 50-meter underwater swim, and you get to the point where you are out of oxygen and your vision starts to close in, if you start to think about how far away you are from that wall that you have to touch before you can come to the surface, guess what you're going to do? You're just going to go ahead and come to the surface. So even in an evolution that only lasts 2.5 minutes, a 50-meter underwater swim, it gets so hard, you have to become so present that you're breaking it down to just the millisecond. Like, I know I can stay under here for a half a second more. I know I can do one more stroke. Or if you're applying it to something like 100-miler, well, if at 10 miles in a 100-miler, if you can't stay present at 10 miles and all you can think about at 10 miles is that you got 90 miles left to run, you're going to be miserable or you're going to quit. So this concept of staying present can be exercised in a short-term thing that's extremely sharp and difficult and uncomfortable, or it can be exercised in a long-term thing that's going to take a little bit longer for you to get there, right? The ability to stay present is extremely important in the process of building mental toughness.
Yeah.
How do you learn to become more present? You have to put yourself in situations where you have to stay present or you're going to quit or be miserable. That's it. And you have to do that over and over and over and over again until it just becomes muscle memory. It just becomes your second nature. And then when you start to look too far ahead, when this ability to stay present becomes second nature, when you start to look too far ahead, because that will happen, and you do that, you immediately recognize it because it's different than the way that you usually think.
Yeah.
You recognize, I'm thinking too far ahead. You immediately recognize that thought, and you put it to rest. You just tell yourself, nope, we're here right now. This is what we're thinking about. This is what we're doing. You got to be able to do that. You have to. Or else you're never going to be able to do anything that's hard or uncomfortable.
Well, I'm not good at that right now, but I've been doing things that are hard and uncomfortable. I think I'm just limited.
Well, I would say, yes, I would agree. Maybe you're not as good as me at that right now.
Yeah.
But you have been progressively getting better at that. You just don't even realize it. And the evidence is you went from 8 years ago not being able to run 2 miles without stopping to running 18 miles in the mountains yesterday.
I ran way more than that, though.
Yeah.
Just for the record.
Yeah. There's your evidence and your ability to stay present.
It doesn't feel like I'm staying present, though, so that's interesting that you're saying it's like a prerequisite to perform. I don't know. That's not a helpful conversation. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, it's definitely important. So,
but
I wish I was like, I wish I could be just like, oh, go read this book or go do this, and you'll be able to stay present.
Well, I find myself, and I was thinking about this while you were saying it. Let's see if I can make this clear and not like go off on a rabbit trail. When you were talking earlier about how you worked growing up and that kind of gave you a little bit of a foundation, it made me think about how my parents pushed me into jobs when I was really young, like 15, 16. I was working almost full time. And they were like, one of them was a waitressing job at a barbecue restaurant that was really busy. And if you've worked food service, you'll understand we had a lot of tables, and it was just hard physical work. Like, you were on your feet, you had to manage a lot mentally, and you were running the whole time. And I remember that, and one of my other first jobs was at a dentist office, and the other one was boring. The waitressing one was just kind of, I was usually tired. I had been to school all day and probably stayed up all night doing something stupid. And when I was young, having to be in the positions where I had to just get over it. Like, that, to me, that was some level of building that presence that I'm really grateful my parents gave me that I didn't like when I was young. Was like, okay, you don't like this right now. You're bored. You want to go do something else. You want to go home, but that's not an option.
Yeah.
This is your job. And even though your feet hurt and you're tired and you're frustrated and you feel like you're not being treated fairly for whatever was going on, it was like you're just forced back into like doing your job, which to me was a presence.
Yeah, and that's largely been lost. Like, that opportunity has been completely lost on, these generations that have come after us, and probably even for the most part in our generation.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, with these freaking snowflakes out there, man, it's good enough for them to just say, no, I'm done because I'm having a bad day, man.
If some of the people that I have interacted with, the young people, worked like that barbecue restaurant job I had, like, if we messed something up, we got screamed at. Like, there was no sugarcoating. There was no, like, this is what you're responsible for. You handle it. Don't ask anybody for help. And if you fall behind, somebody is going to chew you out. And it's hot and it's dirty and it's gross and you're on your feet for hours at a time and people are rude to you, and too bad. Like, if a customer tells you, like, it just doesn't matter. But like you're saying now, nobody would last in that environment. And that environment would be unsafe or I don't know what label they're giving it.
Totally toxic environment.
Like your job, we were talking about the other day how, we're getting off, but this is kind of fun. We were talking about how a Yellow Jacket's nest, how you used to go down into a creek to do the work you needed to do, and you knew you were going to hit a Yellow Jacket's nest and get tore up, but you had to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Find me one young person that you could say, hey, I need you to go weed eat that. Well, first of all, find me a young person that will go weed eat in the middle of summer in Georgia. But tell them, by the way, there's a good chance you're going to get in a Yellow Jacket's nest. But don't, like, they would be like, no, that's unsafe. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But like, who's going to do it? But like you were like, well, yeah, I got to do it. This is my job.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that there's more to that than we originally gave credit for, of being held accountable to jobs that weren't our passion. I think that's such a good benefit for a young person, to be forced into a job that is uncomfortable or monotonous or that they really don't enjoy. It's like, it's just a great foundation. And you don't have an option to quit. You can't go home when you need a
mental health break.
I was going to say that, but like,
no, it's true. It's true. I mean, come on, dude. I talked to you about this the other day. Why are more of these mental health professionals not forwarding all of their messaging with, hey, guess what? Before we even start talking about your problems, I want to let you know something that's true. This life is freaking hard. It's going to be hard.
Yep.
You're going to get sick. People are going to die. Things are going to suck. You're going to have to do crap that you don't want to do. And life is hard for every single human being.
Yep.
Get over it.
Can I share something I used? I'm embarrassed to say I used one of your phrases the other day. I was speaking to somebody, and I was speaking to them, and I was saying, I was holding them accountable to something. You need to do better at this. And they got upset and they said, well, I'm just struggling so badly. This is going. I'm like, well, I'm fine with listening to people. So I'm like, well, what's going on? I'm just in so much pain, my joints, my body. I feel bad every day. And I said, well, how's your sleep? Well, I could do better. Are you eating like real food? How's your diet? Well, I mostly eat fast food because it's just, and then I'm like, well, you're having joint pain. Like I've been there. Why don't you start exercising or lifting weights and the consensus that we came to with me going through those things, they said that all is really hard. Forming those habits and learning to do those new things is really hard. And I looked at them and I said, well, choose your hard. Because right now you're a victim. It's hard, but things are happening to you that aren't in your control. And you're choosing that. But you have a choice to choose hard, but it's on you. You choose to work and push through the friction of forming these new habits and taking better care of yourself. And your whole life's going to get easier. But there's no doubt that changing your food habits, your exercise habits, your sleep habits, improving relationships, that is going to be really hard if you've been doing things a certain way for a long time. But what's your other option? Just become a puddle because life's hard and it's too hard to change?
Yeah, that's a legitimate option especially in today's culture. Yeah, but you know what, man? I think this even goes back further than just today's culture. I guess it's always been an option. I guess it's just more prevalent in the culture that we live in today because of political correctness and this whole mental health and all. And don't get me wrong, man. Like, I have a counselor that I go see and talk to, and like that. All that's good, right? But I'm not gonna.
Well, can I say something? Why you see a counselor is because you are accountable for your own behavior. Like, you don't see a counselor because you're weak and like you do need help. We all need help. But you do that so you can be better. Like, you are choosing your hard.
That's exactly right.
Seeing a counselor is freaking hard.
I'm not going to come into work on next Wednesday when we're supposed to do a podcast. I'm not going to not show up because I need a freaking mental health break.
Well, yeah, you're taking care of yourself. Well, I have something to say about that. But the counselor thing, therapy gets so put into like this box, almost the same box we're talking about, like a mental health day. Oh, you got to go see your therapist.
Well, some of them are. Some of them propagate that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you got to find the right person.
Yes, but if you are going to therapy with goals to become better and you're willing to get uncomfortable and talk to people about things that make you feel gross and mess with your pride, you're going to be better. But what I wanted to say about the mental health day thing is I had a relapse, which I've already talked about. This is no new news. But I got sober in 2015, and a couple years ago, I got introduced to something called kratom, which is a legal herb that they sell here in Georgia all over gas stations. And I didn't know initially what I was doing, but I was addicted pretty quickly. It acts as an opiate. But I had to, when I realized what I had done, that I had relapsed and that I was addicted to this substance, I had to take off of work to go check myself into treatment. And so, like, that's legit. I need a mental, like, I am taking off of work for my mental health and for my health. It's true. I really was. And I don't think that was weak.
Yeah.
But I think that it's abused. You know, people, like you're saying, people feel this friction or they feel these sad days. Well, you're not sleeping well. You're not exercising. You're not eating real food. No wonder you feel like crap and you're anxious and depressed. Like, once you've done all those things and you're working on those and you're still struggling, like, that's the time to take some mental health days and figure out what's going on, because there's more to it.
Yeah, well, like, what you're saying is, yeah, in the event, in a catastrophic event, yeah, you might need to take some days off, right?
Yeah.
But the average everyday discomfort that you're going to feel in life around all aspects of life is not a catastrophe. Like, if Brooke dies next week, I might not show up for the podcast for a week because I might need to take a day off.
A week? You better be mourning for longer than a week.
So
Jeez.
like in the presence of a catastrophe, yes, you might need to take some time off. But day-to-day life ain't a freaking catastrophe. And a lot of you guys are turning it into a dang catastrophe. Every little daggone thing that causes you any pain or discomfort.
Well, and that's where we can loop this back to the foundation of like our conversation is I was like that for a long time. Like when I got sober and I had masked these emotions of sadness, anger, anxiety, mostly anxiety for me. They hit me like a freight train. And I was like, yo, something's wrong with me. I was on SSRIs for a long time and I thought I was special. And I thought that people didn't understand how I felt and most people didn't feel like I felt and that I was kind of helpless. That like this was just how my brain was wired and I was given genetics. And some of that is true, but it's all circumstantial. And now, I don't take any medications. Thank the Lord. That's new too. But like it took me a long time to empower myself that like, yeah, I still have seasons and I still have anxiety and I still have the beginning of panic attacks that I have to work through. But there's so many things that we have control over that can give us power in our circumstance, I was going to go somewhere else with that, but once I started talking, my mind just went whatever.
Well, I think it was a good conversation. I think.
Oh, are we wrapping it up?
Yeah, we've been going for almost an hour and a half.
That irritates me so bad how you do that.
Oh, no, I mean, we could keep going if you want. I mean, I think what it boils down to
well,
is...
folks, all right, guys.
Oh, my gosh,
everybody have a
man.
great day. Enough said. Thank you.
Holy crap.
Sorry, what it boils down to is
what it boils down to is mental toughness is not something that you have to be born with. We all have times that we think about stopping. None of us like to be uncomfortable, contrary to your popular Instagram influencer's last post. None of us get to the point where we just absolutely love that. All right? But it is important. Mental toughness is important to strive for and to try to improve upon throughout your life. How do you do that? By putting yourself in situations where the thing that you're doing gets so uncomfortable that you don't want to do it anymore, and then you choosing to continue doing it in spite of the fact that you don't want to do it anymore.
And this is working out. This is
business,
social.
This is your marriage.
If you're uncomfortable speaking to certain people or being the one to reach out, like, do it. This is when your go-to dinner is some fat-laden processed food, and if you fix chicken or steak or vegetables or fruit, that you're going to have that empty feeling where you don't feel satisfied. That's totally what we're talking about. Sit in it.
Yep.
Deal with it. And then you will be better at it the next time you do it. Every time you do it, you'll get better at it.
Yep.
The first time is going to feel a little squirrely and clunky.
And the reality is that most of the problems that most of you are probably experiencing are due to the fact that you have chosen to be mentally weak. I don't know where my phone is.
Did you seriously leave your phone on loud?
Yeah.
But you gotta turn that off.
What the crap?
Could you imagine if that happened and Blake or Chili were in here and they had left their phone on loud? what ration of crap they would
It's
receive.
the dang real estate agent, man.
Well, I like our real estate agent.
Well, calling me during a podcast. Most of the problems you're experiencing are because you've chosen to remain complacent and mentally weak in your life, and that's more than likely the reason that you're fat, the reason that you're broke, the reason that you're just a freaking lump of crap, and all you want to do is complain about everything that happens to you. That's probably the reason. Go ahead, baby.
I think sometimes the reason is that you were raised a certain way or certain life circumstances shaped you in a way that you got to reshape yourself. I don't think it necessarily means I think people do make choices, but I think like especially younger folks or people who have just come out of something really traumatic and are getting their footing back, I don't think the guilt of like, this is your fault because you made poor decisions and like, that is a little bit true, but I think circumstances can beat you down. But either way, the answer is the same. I'm just saying, I don't know. Like, so with my addiction, would you apply what you just said? Knowing me and like going through that with me? Like, because when I came out of my addiction, I was mashed up piece of butthole. I mean, I was just useless. Like, so my decisions had led me to that place where like I wasn't being successful.
I would, if you asked that particular question, I would want to trace it back to the origins of why you started using in the first place. So if you would have been raised up in a different manner, if you would have had the right mentors in your life, if you would have had the right people developing you,
had the right friends,
if you would have had people to help develop that mental toughness in you as a young person, would you have ever started using drugs in the first place? Now, the result that you experienced when you got clean from those drugs, the way you were feeling then is caused by the drugs you were using. But I'm looking back to, okay, would things have been different if somebody would have taken the time to instill the things that we're talking about here into a child in the first place? Well, maybe so.
But what you're saying is contradictory to your previous statement about how it's people's fault. It's not always. A lot of times it is people's fault.
I guess as a young child.
A lot of times you are raised with certain things, or like I said, life circumstances just impact you so deeply that like you kind of develop these bad behaviors, and it just takes a while for you to like snap out of it. But I'm not trying to remove accountability. That's never what I want to do. I just want to give grace, and like I wouldn't want someone to tell me coming out of my addiction when I was trying to become better, this is all your fault. Mm-hmm. Kind of is my fault in a way, but like, I don't know.
Well, we'll take a question or two from YouTube if anybody has, since we have you guys on here.
Are you on?
Yeah, on here live. I have the YouTube thing coming up on here. Oh, here's somebody that talked about smoking weed.
What?
Now, yes, so a lot of people smoke weed nowadays.
What does this have to do with our conversation?
That's what it has to do, man. I'll never forget. Somebody told me one time, I was asking them why they wanted to smoke weed so much or drink alcohol so much. And basically the response is that it's an escape from their day-to-day reality.
It's how they wind down.
No, it's an escape from reality.
Oh, sorry.
Which, yeah, maybe that's what they need to wind down, is that they need an escape from reality. Well, that is mental weakness. If you cannot confront reality, if you need an escape from your life, that means that you're just a little poopy pants in your life. you just need something that's not real life to get you to a place where you can feel good again. My goal has always been in my life, my goal has always been to confront reality for what it is and figure out a daggone way to deal with it that doesn't take some sort of substance to change the way that my brain operates.
What about nicotine?
Nicotine doesn't change my perspective of reality.
It definitely...
It doesn't relax me. It doesn't do any of that.
That's a lie. I smoked for forever. I know how nicotine works. It does relax you. It can help you stay awake. It can help you stay more alert. If you're really hungry, it can, not to the level of weed, but it can definitely impact your mental state.
Well, maybe it does. I don't know. I don't feel that personally. Maybe it's because I've been using nicotine for so long.
Then why don't you quit?
And if you look at why did I start using nicotine? It wasn't because I needed something to relax me. It was because everybody around me was doing it. That's what we did. That's what men did in the South. They chewed tobacco. My grandfather chewed tobacco. My dad chewed tobacco. Everybody at the SEAL team chewed tobacco. It's just a cultural thing. The point in chewing tobacco is never, you don't get, I never did it for a reason to escape reality or relax or stay awake or any of those things. But when you use a drug that fundamentally changes the way that you perceive reality, like alcohol or weed, that is not a comparison to nicotine.
I agree with that. Yeah.
So, yeah, Gator, I agree. I need to quit doing nicotine for the sake of quitting doing nicotine because it's a daggone waste of money.
Can we, really quick, just because you brought up weed, Andrew Huberman has a episode on marijuana. And it is mind-blowing how bad for you weed is. Right now, people depict it like it's some kind of great alternative, and it's like a health. No. Like, it affects everything in a negative way.
I see all kinds of excuses from people smoking weed on here. It's just a daggone... Man, learn to face up to reality, man. I don't see any more good questions.
Did you
on here.
Did you specifically say open to questions?
Yeah, I specifically said it.
Okay.
So, all right. 10-4. 10-4. Well, that was a fun little Sunday afternoon podcast. What are we going to do? Go to the grocery store?
Yeah, I think we got to go get some bananas and ground turkey.
Oh, that'll be a good mental toughness exercise for me walking in the grocery store.
You know what? Earlier when we were talking, I said sometimes I have to use these tactics to do laundry. Mm-hmm. I have to use them on the regular. Well, the rare chance that I don't order groceries when I have to enter the grocery store, I have to do it. Silence the me that's saying, you don't want to do this. This is terrible.
YouTube, I love you guys. Go get you a hoodie, man. Keep Chili in the daggone dungeon. He'll be in the dungeon tomorrow. I got to go to the range tomorrow. If I stop back by and Chili's in the dungeon, I'll go take a little video for you guys and post it on YouTube.
And don't forget about our race coming up, February 10th.
Trail race.
Yep, trail race. Minimum distance is only 4 miles. So, nobody really has an excuse. You can hike it. You have 4 hours to hike 4 miles.
Yeah, I'll put a link in the show notes of this video right here if you guys want to come run.
It's on Ultra Sign Up. It's called 307 Project Trail Race.
Or you can sign up for the 8 hour, and what a grand opportunity that would be to do something to the point that you don't want to do it anymore and keep doing it. Because I guarantee you, over the course of the 8 hours, you're going to get to the point that you don't want to run anymore. Trust me. There's a daggone climb on that course that's going to crush you. All right. Love you guys. I'll see y'all on Wednesday, Lord willing.
Nuff said.
Nuff said.